Welcome to part 2 of a 2-part series on trauma-informed tools to prevent and reduce vicarious trauma. In part 1, we looked at bottom-up tools, meaning working with the breath and the body to help regulate our nervous systems. In this video, we'll look at one top-down tool, meaning we work with our mind, or at least primarily with the mind. There's always a combination of the two, but when we refer to top down, then we're using our mind and our thoughts to regulate what's happening in our bodies. And what is vicarious trauma? Vicarious trauma is any overwhelming response we have to the work we do with clients. When clients are experiencing their own trauma, we might experience panic, depression, hopelessness, fear, or a variety of other really difficult emotional states. So let's look at a top-down tool to help both soothe the nervous system and also bring a kind of balance to the nervous system. This is a tool called EFT. Some of you might know it as tapping. EFT means Emotional Freedom Technique, and it was developed by Gary Craig in the 1990s. And essentially, I'm going to be inviting you to name a difficult experience for you or a vicarious trauma you feel like you may have experienced in the past. You could bring something from the past or perhaps in the present. And then we're going to blend that with an affirmation of something that helps you bring a sense of ease and well-being or any positive quality. So let's begin. I invite you to reflect on what's something hard for you in your work right now that feels like it has your body either frozen up in a more depressed, hopeless state, or perhaps overactivated, hyper aroused in a kind of anxious, fearful state. Okay, so whatever is true, it might be both sometimes, but for now, let's just choose one. And then let's give that a name. So I'll just give an example. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed in my body in response to certain client work. So I'm going to name the overwhelm and give it space by creating a sentence that starts with, even with this overwhelm. So go ahead and name what is true for you, even with this hopelessness, even with this fear. I'm choosing overwhelm, even with this overwhelm. And then I'm going to pair that with a resource, an affirmation. So I'm creating this dual awareness of the hard thing and then also the supportive quality, this essence quality. So even with this overwhelm, that's part 1 of my statement, I choose inner peace. That's the resource quality, inner peace. Even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. Okay, so that's number 1, to come up with your statement. Even with this fear I feel, I know everything's going to be okay. It's another example of a statement you can use for EFT. So now, when you have your statement, now we're going to repeat that statement as we tap on different energy centers in our body. Okay? So here we go. We'll use my statement. We're going to tap on the side of our wrist just lightly with 4 fingers and repeat, even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. Okay, and then the other side of the wrist, even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. And then just above the eyebrows, even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. the temples. Even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. Under the eyes, and you feel for the tender spots. Even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. Under the nose with 2 fingers, even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. Under the lower lip, even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. Now just above the collarbones, you can close your eyes while you do this or keep them open. Even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. Good. And then the back of the armpit, even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. Other side, even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. Good. Finally, the crown of the head with 1 or 2 of your fingertips. Even with this overwhelm, I choose inner peace. And then let your hands melt down. At the end of a tapping session, I like to repeat the affirmation 3 times. I choose inner peace. I choose inner peace. I choose inner peace. And notice how you feel. Well, there you go. EFT, a top-down tool to both prevent and reduce vicarious trauma. You can try this. Try it every day, twice a day. See what happens as a preventative tool. Or if you're feeling in a trauma response yourself, then you can use it in that moment as well to reduce the severity of what's going on inside and come back to a regulated state. Okay, I wish you all the best with these tools and wish you a beautiful day.